voices, come on. Tu amor, hey. Tu amor, me da vida, tu amor, tan bello, tu amor, me da vida, me da vida.
Right. All right. How was the food, everyone? Yeah, I've watched some of you already ask Joel for the recipe for different things, and none of you asked me. So you all know that I didn't cook it. But we did have some great help there. I know Joel Crane cooked most of this meal with his mom. And so the Cranes handled a lot of the food. Joan and Joel, I want to thank you so much. Will you please give them a round of applause? Jeff Meinhard made that banana pudding. How was that? Oh, who did? Oh, no. Wait. Gwen Meinhard made that. Gwenny, Jeff told me. He said, I made this. Gwen had nothing to do with it. He's what he told me. Look at him. It was some of the best banana pudding I've ever had, and I mean that. It was so good. I'm so glad you're here. We're going to have this conversation about food insecurity, the working hungry. And if you're streaming with us, welcome to streaming with us as well. You are welcome to participate in this conversation with us. Now, the way discussions over dinner work is we're going to have a conversation up here, but you get to participate by texting a question to 219-690-8057. Again, that number is 219-690-8057. And when you text that, it comes right to my computer, and I'm able to then ask the panel, assuming it's a good question. There will be one or two that I will not get to because, come on, people have better questions than that. Now, let me introduce you, though, tonight to our panel that I'm very, very excited to have with us. So, firstly, Lisa Pierzakowski is a LaPorte, Indiana native, elected as the Center Township trustee in 2015. Is that right? She is deeply committed to helping those in need, and her office maintains a food pantry and other programs to assist impoverished LaPorte residents. Lisa is passionate about addressing the issues of food insecurity, mental illness, and addiction in our community. She is a dedicated public servant who works tirelessly to ensure everyone in her township has access to the necessary resources. Please join me in welcoming Lisa Pierzakowski. And next to me is Janice Edwards. Janice works for the Division of Family Resources. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Good, because if you said no, I'm going to be like, well, then I don't know what we're doing here. The Division of Family Resources is responsible for establishing eligibility for Medicaid, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, and temporary assistance for needy families. You're going to learn here in a second. There's lots of acronyms, and you're going to have to figure out what those are. We'll explain them the best you can, because I started in this work, and it took me about 6 months to go, I don't know what that means. And then you have nice people like Lisa that'll explain it to you. But the division also manages the timely and accurate delivery of SNAP and TANF benefits. The Division of Family Resources also provides employment and training resources to some SNAP and TANF recipients. The division's overarching focus is the support and preservation of families by emphasizing self-sufficiency and personal responsibility. Please join me in welcoming Janice Edwards. Now, you guys can take your microphones so that those streaming can hear as well.
Okay.
You're on. It should be on anyway. I want to.
Yep, you're green.
I want to again encourage you, if you have a question, you're welcome to text us at 219-690-8057, especially about the documentary. Now, I want to go through some statistics here to paint the picture of what LaPorte County is going through. If you've noticed before, if you've been in LaPorte County for a while, we kind of operate on this little island, right? We're not really South Bend and St. Joe County. LaPorte County, though, is kind of the weird cousin of the region. Those in Lake County and Porter County don't really acknowledge us much, but you know, we're not in Eastern time zone, so we exist in this weird island. And so I wanted to put some things together to kind of show you a little bit about where we're at in food insecurity and poverty in LaPorte County. Now, I got our unemployment numbers compared February to February. Now, you have to kind of compare it month to month or by the month, because in the winter time, as Lisa and Janice will be able to tell you, there's a lot more seasonal work that people aren't working. And so people might work when it's nice outside or when there's no snow on the ground. So unemployment goes up a little bit in the colder months. If they can't get a job, it goes down a little bit in the summer months. So I wanted to compare February to February to February to February. So unemployment in LaPorte County, February 2016 was 7.4%. 2017 was 5.9%. 2018 was 5.3, then 5.5. 2020 was 5.0. 2021, do you guys remember? There in 2021, there's a thing called the pandemic, and lots of people couldn't work. That shot up our unemployment to 7.0%. And then last year was 3.8%, and we've ticked up 4.7% now. Here are these are the county unemployment numbers. Now, average weekly wage compared to our bordering counties. Stark County, the average weekly wage is $684. One of the things, as a side, one of the things that I really appreciated about that documentary is showing that poverty hits every type of individual and every type of demographic, rural, urban. And some of us think that, again, we have an idea, and we'll get to some of these kind of busting some myths, but an idea of what poverty in LaPorte County or poverty in Indiana looks like. And everyone up here can tell you they've seen people, they've talked to people, they've helped people that break out of the mold that you think. And so Stark County, obviously a very rural county, average weekly wage is $684. LaPorte County, $893. Porter County average weekly wage is $1,010. St. Joe County is a little higher, $1,041. Lake County, $1,069. Elkhart County, $1,312. And so those are average weekly wages. And then food insecurity. Now, the food insecurity numbers are a little bit harder to determine right now because of the pandemic. So the last really good numbers we have are from 2020. The food insecurity numbers are the percentage of households unable to provide adequate food for one or more household members due to lack of resources. In the documentary, those streaming won't know this, but in the documentary, The Working Hungry was the documentary we watched without our streaming friends. It talked about food insecurity. The U.S. food insecurity number is 11.8%. Indiana's average is 10.8%. LaPorte County is 13.9%, significantly higher. Households receiving SNAP with children. Janice can probably tell us a little bit more about some SNAP things as well. The U.S., 48.6%, Indiana, 52.3%, LaPorte County, 55.7%. Child food insecurity rate. This indicator shows the percentage of children under 18 years of age. Senator Jim Merritt, if you remember from the documentary, talked about this number, that in some communities, 1 out of 5 children are in food insecure homes, which means 20%, right? Well, in LaPorte County, it's actually higher than that. And the U.S. average is 16.1%. Indiana average is 14.4%. LaPorte County's is 21.7%. Over 20%, 1 in 5 kids that go to our schools, that are educated by our teachers, that graduate from our schools, are in food insecure homes. So I wanted to kind of give you some data points to think about as we go through there, to kind of give a more localized understanding of what we're doing. And if you have a question, 219-690-8057. Lisa, we're going to start with you. Lisa, explain a little bit about what a trustee does, and specifically, because there's a lot of different kind of ways trustees go about their jobs. You are an elected official. What are some of the things that you do in your office most days?
That I do, or what trustees?
We'll say what you do.
Okay. Just want to ask that question.
Yep.
So, in a normal day, we help people with rent, NIPSCO, and water, basically. We also have the food pantry, and we also have a day center, so people can come in the morning, and they can have breakfast. They can take a shower. They can do their laundry. They can have a bowl of soup. They can visit with the girls in the back or any of our volunteers in the back, and then we close at 4. Most days, it's just rent, NIPSCO, and water. But I was just talking to Mel. Mel works in my office. And just today alone, we had 3 homeless people. Last week, we had 13 homeless people. So we're dealing with a lot of homeless people. But in that is a lot of mental illness. So we are really, really getting hit hard with mental illness. And that's why I've been traveling to Indianapolis quite a bit, taking courses and stuff like that. I was certified CRT and, to work with the mental health and stuff like that. But I think COVID really hit hard on a lot of people and a lot of families. And I think that has a lot to do with the mental illness. So as you said, we help with addiction and stuff like that. But it used to be a lot of it was addiction. We were, having to find places, open beds for people for addiction. But right now, it's the mental illness and the homelessness and stuff like that. So,
what is CRT?
Crisis Intervention Team.
Crisis Intervention Team.
Mm-hmm.
This is CRT.
CI? No, it's C. I don't know now.
I don't know
Thanks.
now.
See, now you're gonna.
A lot of acronyms. Don't know if they all work out or not. But
Crisis Intervention Team. CI. Well,
okay,
it's CRT.
It's a crisis-based team.
Yes,
Yep.
exactly. And it's to do with, it's basically set up for the police.
Okay.
But because they know that I work with a lot of the mental illness and I work so much with the city and county police officers, I'm usually the first person they call when they have a homeless person or something like that. So they invited me to take the course also. And it's basically how to work with somebody when you come upon somebody with mental illness, how to interact with them, what to do and what not to do, and stuff like that. So it was a great week-long class in Michigan City.
Now, Janice, we used to hear this phrase, food stamps, right? And we don't hear that anymore because food stamps don't exist. It takes a different form. For people that don't know, how has food stamps evolved and who qualifies for them?
All right, so with the food stamp process, mostly our interviews are done over the phone. So if an individual qualifies, it's based on their income, their household size, and also their resources. Resources are things such as bank accounts, if you own property, those type of items. I don't know the income guidelines right off the top of my head, but the number one figure I do know for a single person, say who has no income, the food stamp allotment they will receive is $251 monthly. And right now with the food stamp program, I call it food stamps, not SNAP. SNAP means Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program. Okay, that one I know. Right now, if there's an individual, I believe it's age 18 to 51, if they were receiving food stamps, they wanted them to work for those food stamps. Right now, that program is on hold. It got on hold once the pandemic started, but the latest I heard, they're going to start it back up in October. So basically, they don't want you sitting around just collecting food stamps and not working. Not unless you meet an exemption. And an exemption could be you're disabled, you have a dependent, or those are probably the only two I can think of. I also think if you're enrolled in school full-time as a college student, you won't have to required to participate in a work program.
So, as you two were watching the documentary, was there anything in the documentary that rang true to you and your experiences and what you do every day in your guys' positions?
I would probably say one of the things that stood out for me was that a lot of individuals don't know about these other resources that is available to assist them with the food stamp program. I've never seen so many signage with people saying they need help or money. I'm starting to see a lot more of that than anything. Everywhere I go, somebody has a sign up, I need help. And sometimes I want to stop and say, we do have a food stamp program that you can apply for, but so the resources, like I said, I don't think a lot of people know is available. And also the ones that do know that it's available, a lot of them probably don't even need it, but they take advantage of it because it is. The other thing is, you just never know what a person is going through. I hear workers all the time, they make more money than me, go do this, they're not eligible, and you just don't know what a person is going through. And also, you just never know when you're going to need help. Something happened in your life. I mean, you can have a degree, a doctor. I've seen judges, all type of people. So that wear different hats where they've had to come and get help with the agency because some kind of crisis happened in their life. So you can't judge a book by its cover.
Absolutely. What about you, Lisa?
So I think I'll agree with that. And to kind of piggyback on that, a lot of it is that, in our office, because we do food stamp applications every day for our clients, we get frustrated when somebody gets denied, and it's like, but if only you knew what was going on, but you have to go by what, the paychecks and stuff like that. But the thing that stood out the most is people not wanting to ask for help. And that's one of the things that frustrates us the most because, I'll be out at nighttime, checking on the homeless and stuff, and like right now you can go to almost any parking lot and find somebody sleeping in their car. And it's like, here's my card, stop in and see me, let's see what we can do to help you. They're too embarrassed to do that. And then the other thing is, like, we just had a mom with 4 kids that were sleeping in their car, had been for 2 weeks. She finally, brave enough to come in and
School-age kids?
School-age kids. Finally came in and said, I can't do this anymore, and yada, yada, yada. So we got her into the hotel for a couple nights until Monday when she could complete her application with Sandcastle, and then we got her into Sandcastle. But there again, it was the pride thing to not come into the office. Or her case was, I'm afraid you're going to take my kids away. And the very first thing I said to her was, you are in jeopardy right now of having your kids taken away because you're sleeping in a car with your kids. If you go into the shelter with your kids, they're going to work with you. They're not going to take your kids because of that. Sleeping in your car, yes. Working with the system, no. So it's educating the people to understand what is right and what is wrong, pride versus doing the right thing.
Now, we're getting some of your texts that come in, and I appreciate these questions. Again, if you have a question and you're here in the room or you're watching on our live stream, welcome. You're welcome to text us at 219-690-8057. Let's get to some of your questions and ask these, and either one of you guys can answer. The documentary made a point of saying that food insecurity is about lacking access to healthy foods, healthy being a part of that. We have donated food to pantries in the past, but oftentimes shelf-stable pantry items are unhealthy, canned processed items high in sodium. Should we continue to donate food, or would cash donations be better so fresher food can be purchased by a pantry? Lisa, do you have any opinion on that?
Well, I agree with some of the pantry things. I do know Pack Center has a lot more nutritional items than our pantry does. But I think my pantry, a lot of it is more with the homeless, because we're giving them the food to take with them at nighttime, because when they come in and they've had their breakfast and their lunch, we pack a bag with them so they've got food for the next day, or if we're not going to be in the office for a couple days. And yes, it should be nutritional, but stop and think about it. Are they going to be able to keep that cold or warm or something like that? A can of ravioli is going to be better than them starving. A thing of cookies or a donut is going to be better than, egg salad that's going to spoil or something like that. So I think it can work both ways. And we try to keep some foods for, like we've got the Hispanics that like certain foods, so we try to keep certain foods. We have some of our vegetables that are no salt, and some of the other things that are no salt. So we try to make sure that we have that for everybody too.
Yeah, to add and to agree with Lisa, and to add to that, I look at engaging in food security in 2 different ways, right? So you have the crisis of food insecurity, where the most important thing is calories, getting calories in the hands of people to eat, because if people don't have calories, they starve. And so once you get the calories, once the tourniquet's on and the bleeding has stopped, then we talk a little bit more about healthier eating. But if you're donating things and you think, well, maybe we should donate better things or whatever, donate. That's the most important thing, donate. To the question a little bit about cash that all probably depends on the food pantry. For us, as Keisha, our PAC Center director, could tell you, we can purchase food at a lower rate, at a cheaper rate than most consumers can through the food bank that we buy from. And so when we ask for cash, it's typically because if you go and buy it from a store, it's going to cost you more. If you donate $1 to a food pantry, they can probably buy 3 things with it, and you can buy 1. And so it's that, but never be afraid though, and say, I donated this stuff. None of it's wrong, right? So and we're just talking about good and better. So yeah. All right, here's another question for you. What services or in what ways are either of your organizations at all able to provide for those needing mental health care?
All right, well, we do offer through the Affordable Health Act. At one time, Medicaid was only streamlined for certain individuals, but with the Affordable Care Act, it's open up to everyone. And one of the good things about the application with Medicaid is that it's called, when we process an application for Medicaid, we call it relaxed verification. We don't ask for a lot of documentation for that program. I wish food stamps was the same way. But for health care, the goal is someone apply, we want to get them on immediately. So that should take care of the mental health. They just have to use it and apply. So we don't ask for, we just take your statement for your income. Some of the programs we don't even care about. I mean, for healthcare, we don't care about the resources, so that they're exempt. So it's just really driven off income based on your statement.
Now, Lisa, for you, on doing some of the groundwork, and I know you're affiliated with our home team, which is doing some more, trying to engage our homeless issue. What kind of resources do you typically have available to you, and what do you reach out when you find out somebody is homeless?
Well, we try to do the best we can to get them into the shelter in Michigan City, or we try to help them get housing. But as everybody knows, the housing shortage is atrocious right now. So trying to find, I'll go back to the mom with the 4 kids. She has an income of $1,300 a month. Do you think she's going to be able to afford an apartment for $900 or more a month? No. And is she going to be able to find a 3-bedroom apartment for $900 or less? No. So it's, it's a real struggle there. But we work with the Swanson Path program, who's in our office on Fridays. So we work with them. We have Mike and Kareem. Kareem is new. He's doing a fantastic job. But we have Mike and Kareem in our office, and they work with the mental illness and the homelessness and stuff like that. But I will tell you, we've got a young man who we just had to beg the courts to do a revocation of probation because he was not taking his medication, and we needed to get him back into the jail, which is not good. But it protects him and protects others. And now, praying that we can get that bed in Indianapolis and get him from jail into Indianapolis for the 6 months to a year, and then go from there into a home where he can be with other people with the same type of mental illness, where he's getting the love and the care that he needs along with the medication and stuff like that. So with the mental illness, it's a struggle. I mean, it is a huge struggle because it used to be a struggle with addiction, which it still is, but not as much. Mental illness, as everybody knows, we lost all of our mental health hospitals. So we're starting over again. And I will tell you, thankfully, Indiana is probably at the top. They are seeing what's going on, and they are giving more funds for it to be people to be working on it, to get more beds opened up and get more hospitals opened up and stuff like that. So I'm very grateful to our governor for seeing that, and our state senators and representatives and stuff. So, keep praying that we continue to go forward with the mental illness, because it is probably more than the addiction. But of course, addiction and mental health run side by side. But again, the mental health is a lot worse right now.
Can somebody without permanent housing apply for SNAP benefits?
Longest state they live in, the state of Indiana.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
We work with individuals who are homeless every day.
We have many that use our address and to get their food stamp cards and stuff
They
like that.
use our address.
They use your address too? Oh,
They
okay.
use the agency address.
That's what
So
we
you
need to
get
do.
mail delivered to the
Yep.
agency? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Janice, this is a question for you. Do you feel that the income guidelines contribute to the working hungry crisis because the guidelines are too high, thus causing a systematic crisis response?
The income guidelines, food stamps is really designed to supplement your income. So I would say, no, the income guidelines are not too high. You can't just live off food stamps. You do have to have some other type of income to supplement it. So the answer is no. I don't think the income guidelines are too high.
Lisa, do you agree?
I'm going to agree with that. We get very frustrated in our office, and I was having this conversation with Jim Prussell on how they need to work on the SNAP benefits again, because for WIC, if you have WIC, there's only certain items you can buy. If you have food stamps, you can buy pop and candy and all that other stuff. That's junk food. Why not make it to where they can only buy bread and peanut butter and jelly and stuff like that? Because I think you would see a lot of people no longer want those food stamps because they're not going to want to get the healthy foods. Am I wrong?
Yeah, you are wrong. Because food stamps, honestly, food stamps is like cash. So,
Yeah, it's sad. It's
Yeah.
sad.
All right, here's another question for you. Again, if you have a question, do text us 219-690-8057, and I'd be happy to ask the panel these questions. And thank you so much for texting us for these. Given the reality of mental illness occurring in a certain percentage of the population, what does our county, LaPorte County, need to do to develop or to fund in order to better help and support people with unaddressed mental illness, which often leads to hunger issues?
More housing, more. Okay, so I know some of you have heard that the Coca-Cola plant is going to be turning into, people are thinking it's going to be turning into a homeless shelter. It's not. Housing Opportunities out of Valpo is going to be redesigning that, and it's going to be
Where is this,
apartment.
please?
The old Coca-Cola building
What is it?
by Archie's. Yes.
Oh, gotcha.
Yes. So it is going to be like, it's an old school. So it's going to be set up like apartments in there. But the thing that's going to happen, finally, is it's going to have on staff living there a caseworker. So that caseworker is going to be able to make sure that Susie's taking her medicine, that Johnny's cleaned his apartment. They're no longer going to be setting them up to fail. They're going to be helping them and encouraging them. And we need more properties like that. That's what's going to work. We can't just put somebody into an apartment and walk away.
Yeah.
You have to continue the case management. If you don't continue the case management, you're literally setting them up to fail.
Yeah, one of our parishioners and somebody that does visit our food pantry, and I know has visited you multiple times, got arrested this week, and he's off his medication, and we all know he's off his medication, and he's struggling when he's off his medication. He just needs a little extra help. He needs somebody to make sure, just the simple ask, did you take your medicine today? And that is the difference between somebody that becomes functional in society and somebody that doesn't know what day or time or month or whatever it is. Just a little bit of that. Now, we don't do case management. We don't have the wherewithal. We try to affiliate with other organizations. We will send somebody to Lisa. Typically, if they're in Center Township, I'll send somebody to Lisa and say, Lisa will do what we call an intake with you. And Lisa will then kind of go through some of that thing. You know, are you a veteran? Are you, these kind of things. And not to pry, but because there's potential other benefits, right? But the amount of casework that you do could probably be increased tenfold in helping other people. And so it is such an important thing. I'm so glad to hear that.
And it's not just Center Township. If there's anybody that anybody sends to me,
Yeah. I didn't want to get you in trouble, but
I'm not going to get in trouble. As long as I'm not using Center Township finances,
Okay.
you can use and abuse my hours. My husband sees me once a week, so he's fine with it.
All right, and I don't know if either of you can answer this because again, it's maybe not within your purview. Lisa is an elected official. You work for the governmental agency, but neither of you, I don't think, can impact this. But maybe you can give some thoughts or any opinions, or maybe just agree with it. When is LaPorte County going to have a program like Marion County? I think on the documentary, and or have jobs paying at a higher rate, like $18 an hour, that people can actually live on?
I can't answer that. I can't. I wish.
Yeah, and I know the program, and it's pretty exciting. There's no reason why LaPorte County couldn't do that. There's no reason at all. It's basically a program where the thing about that program that I visited and I like is that their employees,
visited this program?
yes,
Okay.
the employees there. We did it a year ago.
Okay.
The employees there also have like daycare. They have health. They have everything like right there. So if they don't have to worry about their babysitter being sick or their babysitter not being able to take care of them because it's all right there. It's like a one-stop shop right there. And they keep adding different things to it. But the only thing is, I don't know if any politics-wise, Marion County is exempt from everything, so they get everything. So that's why they can do that. You know,
It's an island, right?
it is an island. It's an island in Indianapolis. Yeah, right. So, well, we're kind of one of the largest counties too. So
area, but yeah.
But it's a great program. I don't know why more don't do it, but again, it's the tax base that Marion County is able to do that. But I think if you got enough business, you know, as many businesses as we have, if you got more businesses together and maybe worked on that, I've always said it'd be nice to have a factory that had a daycare in it so that people could do that, because that's another large problem in LaPorte County is the daycare. We have so many. Number one, you can't get the daycare vouchers right now. That's a year off again before they get their, maybe they open it back up in a year. So there's no daycare vouchers right now. The other thing is there's no daycares. You know, we lost a lot of that during COVID, and a lot of them haven't reopened. So we'll get parents calling all the time that, you know, I can't go to work because I can't find daycare for my children. So that's another problem too.
Anything to add to that, Janice?
That I was not aware of.
Mm-hmm. I was just in a meeting, Unity Foundation here locally. We have a foundation. A lot of our foundations don't do direct program work, but they try to get the right people in the right room to talk about some issues. And just yesterday, I had a meeting about that topic specifically, 0 to 3 years old, right? We've got a growing and great, Michelle Shirk's doing a great job at Boys and Girls Club. After school care, we're growing, but the 0 to 3 specifically. And, you know, it's also it's certainly not an age you can leave at home, right? And we have we are woefully inadequate in LaPorte County on that, and it's hard, right?
And another thing, talking with senators and legislators and other people in Indianapolis, I spent a lot of time in Indianapolis with the daycare vouchers. Is they want to revamp the daycare vouchers because they were giving out daycare vouchers, so they said, too many. We do have some clients that have been on daycare vouchers before, and I and my staff were frustrated because mom or dad weren't working, but their kids were still going to daycare. So we're paying for them to go to daycare, but they weren't working. So there's got to be some type of system set up to where, to make sure that mom and dad are working and that the daycare vouchers are being used for those purposes.
Were they looking for jobs, though?
Be looking
Yeah.
for work.
Yeah.
It had to be for looking for work. Yeah.
But that's something the government is looking at too,
Trying to-
because like if we pay for daycare, they have to bring their schedule in. We have to know that they have a schedule, and then we'll follow up on the schedule to make sure that they're working.
Efficiencies in systems like this are always important, right? And figuring those out and how to communicate with the right stakeholders is always important. The hard thing is even in nonprofit work, governmental work, there's never enough people, right? And to do these things often takes more people to check in and stuff like that. Here's a question for both of you. For those that need assistance or are seeking help, how do you work to decrease judgment and shame, such as the mother with 4 children you talked about?
We have training on that all the time. So a lot of our workers, they're on assistance themselves. So that should decrease a lot of that. But you just always put yourself in someone else's shoes. And again, like I said, things happen in people's lives. They don't want to come and apply for assistance. And our program is designed where you don't even really have to come into the office. You can do everything online, but of course everyone does not have access to a computer, but it seems like everybody has a cell phone. but you can do it on your cell phone too. But you just, like I said, you just never know when someone's needing help.
Lisa, anything?
And that's right. You know, we're trying to like treat them like we would want to be treated, number one. But the other thing is when they come in, our job is not just to pay their rent, NIPSCO, and water and send them out the door. We need to get to the root cause because there might be something else going on. One good thing is, you know, looking at their bank statement. If you see a lot of things, Blue Chip Casino, Four Winds Casino, let's talk to them about a gambling problem. You see a lot of liquor stores or bars or stuff like that. We're going to talk to them about maybe a program for alcohol or something. So again, it's, you know, or right now, I will tell you, cancer patients, it's gone up again. I mean, I'm not sure what's going on, but I've got 2 coming in on Monday with cancer. So it's there again, it's talking to them and finding out, you know, why is it you can't pay your rent, NIPSCO, and water, what's going on? And there's so many programs, like we work with the New Day Foundation for, you know, the cancer programs and stuff like that. We have Catholic Charities in our office. We have First Step in our office. And, you know, we're going to do anything and everything we can. But we always tell them, please be open and honest with us. Tell us what's going on. Because you're going to get the help. No matter if it's alcohol or gambling or something, you're going to get the help. But if you are not honest with us and we find out, it's going to be a little harder for us to want to help you. So that's one of the things, you know, but we treat them as we would want to be treated, but we want to know what's going on so we can really help them. We don't want to just pay a bill and send them out the door because that's not helping them. You know, we need to be working on budgeting with them, and that's a lot to do with the food insecurity is budgeting. Teaching them how to do a budget. And, you know, with the food pantries, we've got a food pantry every day except for Sunday. So we give them our food pantry list. That's the first thing Mel does. And, you know, we say you can go to the PAC Center one week and ours one week and St. Vincent de Paul. And, you know, we set that up and we tell them to use their SNAP benefits for their dairy products and their meats and then use the pantries for the, you know, the staple items. But we budget with them. We try to help them understand, you know, let's figure this out so you can have the fresh fruit and vegetables and stuff, or you can go out to eat once a week because, you know, people will come in with McDonald's and Kentucky Fried Chicken and stuff, and it's like, number one, it's not healthy. Number two, that's where all your money's going. So let's set up a budget to where you can go out to eat once a week with your family, but let's, you know, use the pantries and your SNAP benefits. And, you know, we always ask, do you receive food stamps? Do you have insurance? Do you, you know, and if not, then we sign them up for all that.
I think in our congregation here, those of you that are part of it, you're probably tired of hearing this. But one of the most important things that anybody in nonprofit work or governmental work or assistance work can do, and I think just in general, humanity, is share just these 4 simple words with people. And this is whether you're coming to a food pantry or otherwise, is you are not alone. There are other people going through the same thing. You are not the first person we've seen. That doesn't diminish your uniqueness as a person, you know, or anything like this. But the shame often is born because you think you're the only person that is dealing with these issues. You are not. And so I think as a nonprofit or as a governmental agency, one of the hurdles for people to overcome shame is helping them realize that they're not alone. And it's okay to ask for help. Many people ask for help, and that's why the government puts money towards trustees. That's why, you know, we've got systems like the division that Janice works for. That's why nonprofit work happens, is we are here to help. And there should be no shame in that. One of the things I wanted to touch on, something you said, Lisa, is budgeting, things like this. You know, sometimes it's interesting, and believe me, I am not one to you know, judge anybody on budgets. So, but one of the interesting things, and one of the things we help people with, is we can get you food every week. I can't pay for your broken muffler though. So come and get food at the Center Township Trustee this week or the PAC Center this week, and you don't have to pay for groceries this month. And then maybe you can pay for your muffler. Now, I know you want to go to the grocery store because everyone, as I think Janice said, nobody wants to use these things, or very few people want to use these things. And so helping people understand that use the money that you have for these things if you can. Again, if you've got food stamps or things like this, there's certain, but if you've got a little bit of money coming in for this thing, use it towards that because I can help you over here. I can't help you over here.
And that's the same thing, like we had the slash tires at the Civic and the mayor calls and is like, hey, can you, help pay for these slash tires? Well, I don't have a specific fund. I'm government. I have to go by my budget and my funds. I don't have a specific fund for slash tires, but I said, send them in. We're going to figure this out. Well, let me pay your rent this month, and then you can pay for your tires. Or let me pay your NIPSCO this month, and you can pay for their tires. There's, just like you, talking about the food, there's always some way to figure it out.
Yeah, we can get creative on some of these things.
Exactly. Let's all work together. And, you send people to us, we send people to you, and we all work together. Just like with First Step being in our office and Catholic Charities, and then we got St. Vincent de Paul. Somebody comes in, we had a $2,700 NIPSCO bill. We can't pay that. There's just no way. Energy Assistance can pay some, and First Step can pay some. We can pay, so it's working together. It's teamwork among so many organizations.
All right, we're almost done on time, and I do apologize. We have more questions. I'll give another question here that either one of you can answer. The video talked a lot about higher wages from experience. $18 an hour full-time for a single parent does not often provide a budget that meets housing, daycare, transportation, clothing, utility, and food costs. Now, if a person is lucky enough to find resources to make that budget work, it is still a day-to-day, week-to-week survival mode, kind of a grind, right? In your opinion, again, this is your opinion, what changes to governmental programs or volunteer-based resources, healthcare, or society in general would have the biggest impacts on moving households from the status of working poor, working hungry, as we talked about, to stable and sustainable? So what kind of changes do you think could be made that can help you?
Well, at one time, they were putting a big focus with our agency on education, paying for you to go to school for a 4-year degree. Some took advantage of that, some didn't. So, some can make $70,000 or $80,000 a year. Well, that's not the story now. It also seems like if you do maybe hit a lucky something, our agency now, the government, they kind of know everything you win. Like if you won $5,000 on a scratch-off lottery, somehow they find out and kick you off the program. So even with, if you win at the casino and you owe back child support, you're not going to get those winnings. They're going to intercept that. So honestly, just higher wages, things are just different now. The cost of living is extremely high. And honestly, you just got to use common sense and some of the things, grow your own food. And I think the biggest resource, if you have it available, is just family. Usually, I have kids who has to come to me, and sometimes they need a helping hand. And so I don't know if higher wages to meet all those needs, sometimes everybody cannot do that. So you have to look for other resources.
Lisa, what about you?
So I think the higher wages will help, but I'm a real stickler on budgeting. And I think they need to take back the budgeting into the classrooms. I think they need to understand because we have so many, as you know, so many of our clients that live on $951 a month, and they make it work because they know if they don't that they're going to lose that roof over their head. Where you've got these young kids that are getting $10,000 refund checks and still not paying their rent or their NIPSCO. They've got to understand that you've got to pay your bills. You can't expect the government to do it for you. You can't expect mom and dad to do it for you. It's got to go back to being taught in the school. I think that's part of it. But as far as the higher wages, the higher the wages, the higher the food cost is going to go, the higher, gas, it's kind of a rippling effect. So that's a tough one. That's a tough one.
Yeah, I think on some of these things, if they were all very easily solvable issues, we would have them solved by now. I do think it's hard. I do know, to your personal financing, one of our parishioners here, Joe Ruiz, teaches business at LaPorte, and they did have that. The state mandated it. They took it away. They're talking about putting it back into the classroom, but they'll probably take it away again. Who knows? But so that was, I think next year they started again, personal finance, after having a 3-year break on that. But it's difficult. The work that you guys do is difficult, and we're going to end with this question. And we've got one question at the end we always ask, but this question: break a myth for people that might not know, or might not think, or that might think differently about what you do. Maybe there's a myth that you think of that you hear often enough, either one of you, that you want to break for people. Go ahead, Jan.
I've probably had this conversation on the phone. If I was black, I can get food stamps.
Oh,
Wow.
Another one that really breaks my heart a lot: you can have $1 million and you're sick and you don't have anybody to take care of you. You don't have a nursing home policy. So now you need the state to help you with health care, but you have children who don't want to spend your $1 million on health care. So somehow they finagle that money, and the state ends up paying for the parents' health care because the children wants the money left to them. I've never heard or never seen where people apply for health care and they need an attorney to do it. But like I said, the biggest myth is if I was black, I can get food stamps, or they're out there driving that fancy car, and they're in here applying for benefits. Well, how do you know the car belongs to them?
Yeah.
Maybe they're borrowing a vehicle.
yeah, and during the pandemic, right? We had people that had nice vehicles that lost their job the same as everyone else, and they had money 3 weeks ago, and now they have none. And so, so Lisa, what about you?
So one of the biggest things is people will say, well, I guess I just need to quit my job and then I'll get everything I need. And that's not going to fix it. That's going to make it worse. We have some people who think that they will work just January and February, just long enough so that they can collect their taxes at the end of the year. And it's like, that's not helping. That's making it worse. So, come in and let's figure it out together. Let's sit down and work on that budget, or, whatever we need to do. But yeah, I've heard your story before too. So that's been used with us before. So
I want to thank you so much for coming. Will you please give a round of applause to our panelists? Now, I'm going to ask you one more question, so don't turn off those mics. It's the question and I'll give you a second to think about it. What brings you hope? Lisa, you probably know this. You've been here before. The question is always, we end every episode and every time together is what brings you hope, and I'll give you a second to think about that. I want to do, again, thank so many people that help our discussion over dinner, these events go on. I do the least amount of work of everyone here. There's so many people pulling so much weight. I want to thank Keisha, our program manager, our executive director at the PAC Center, who helped put all of this together. I want to thank Becky Crane. I want to thank Molly, who handled all of our coffee shop drink stuff. Mike Warner, who ran our sound. Jason Clemens, who ran our video and other tech stuff today, lights. And then again, round of applause for our cooks and everyone that made the food today. And again, Jeff Meinhardt, thanks so much for that dessert. All right, so we'll end with this. We'll end with this. Lisa, let's start with you. What brings you hope?
it's always the same thing. It's the community. We have a very giving community. I can't thank the community enough for what they do, like our GED class. we get donations so that nobody has to worry about paying for the test. The stuff that comes in for our food pantries, or if we do a call out on Facebook, somebody needs a bed, and it's our community. It's a great community to live in, and I appreciate each and every one of you.
Janice, what about you? What brings you hope? What gives you hope?
Well, the agency I work with, I've worked there for almost 35 years.
Wow.
And my hope is that every family or every individual that applies for assistance is that we can help them somehow, some way. If we can't help them there, at least give them a resource that can help them. And that we treat everybody the same. Don't judge.
Absolutely. Amen to that. I also want to thank you two. You guys both bring me hope. Thank you so much for what you guys do every day. And you do as well. You chose to be here on your Friday night to get great food, but also to have a good conversation. I hope you take this conversation out elsewhere. You can actually watch this documentary for free online, so you can share it with other people. I want to thank the Northwest Indiana Food Council for sponsoring this with the Pack Center and State Street Community Church. It just means so much to have partners like that in this community. One final note, I want you to know, whatever you're going through, whether it's food insecurity or something else, you are not alone. You have a home, you have a people, and we're just grateful for you. So don't live in shame. Know that you're not alone. So thank you so much for being here. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.